But we're running out of storage. Oh my gosh, did you hear that? Did you hear that sound? Or did I just hear that?
What is it? What did it sound
It
like?
looked like it was an update to Zoom where it said, "You are being recorded." It was like
Yeah, they
electronic
probably
voice.
updated their legal. We all had to consent to it.
Right.
Wow. How about that, China? How about
Right.
that? Well, it's not going to hurt. These lessons are. I mean, this one is amazing. And so the thing is that you guys, if you have color pencils, these are only fun if I'm speaking from assumption because I've never drawn stained glass windows, but I feel like these are going to be more fun if you draw them in the anticipation of coloring them. And I think we should kind of take the time to do that. So I'm going to sketch it. I have like a black pen, which might be the way to go. Like we'll sketch it in pencil first just to make sure it's right, and then ink it. Or you could just go straight into, or you could just start with colored pencils and just use black and just like use it lightly. Some other ones that are like kind of more like flowers. I guess this is like,
oh, that's
crazy because you have to like decode it sort of, because with just the lines, the way that stained glass windows are made is that there's like lead wire that they bend. You have a frame around the outside, and then you bend this lead wire, and then you fill, you fill the chambers, each one of these chambers with glass, and you fire it, or you cut it. I'm not exactly sure. Obviously, there's probably some stained glass windows in more religious context. Some are purely straight lines, or like 90% straight lines, very geometric. This one's kind of cool. This is this type of star is a star. It's like an 8-pointed star, and it's represents regeneration. Believe it or not, this inner star here with like it looks like a pinwheel with the 8 points. Is that behind me? Hold on, let me turn this. I did a little star lesson. There it is. Can you see it? That 8-pointed star. Regeneration. In case you cut your fingertip off, you can draw that star and hope it grows back.
Is it on the screen behind you, Trevor?
It's on the
I see it.
chalkboard.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to start with what I would consider like something that's on the less complex end, and then maybe we can like build up to some like horizontal ones. But I think the key is that you want to start from the middle. Look at this one, man. This one is so cool too. It just like becomes like this flower that like starts with a circle. There's 4 circles around that, and there's 4 circles around that, and then there's a large circle around that. I also wanted to make sure it fit on the Zoom screen. So this one could fit nicely on the Zoom screen. This like horizontal one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just start with the one to get things moving, and then we'll just go from there. We'll see how this goes. It is a way that artists have made like a living for centuries. I mean, in Baltimore, there's actually a stained glass window factory, and that's all they do. I mean, they hire employees, and all they do is make stained glass windows. I have not seen it, but my friend applied there, and I don't know. He's just not really a stained glass window maker. Let's do this, guys. There's only one part that I think is going to be tricky about this one, and I'll tell you what it is when we begin. So I'm going to start and make mine so you guys can see it better. I'm going to make my inner circle a little bit small. That's it is a metaphor for my real life. I have a very small inner circle. Okay,
Yeah.
so start with that circle. And then the area where you could get hung up has to do with the distance from the straight line center to where there's basically 4 lines: 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. And the distance from the center circle to the center of these 2 circles, it's got to be the same length. So if you start with 1 point and you get a dot That's not in the center. I'm gonna really work hard to make these dots the exact same distance out from the center. So there's 12 o'clock and there's 6 o'clock. I feel like it's easier to compare top and bottom.
Mhm.
I think that's pretty good. And if you make one a little bit longer, you have to make the other one a little bit longer. But I'm happy with those. I'm happy with those. Those are pretty darn close. You could measure it. You could get a little piece of paper and make sure that each distance is exactly the right the right. I have all these scrap sheets now. Life is so good that I have all this organization. So there's one length to one tip, and let's just compare it. See how close I am. I'm on point with that one. No pun intended. So I can now use that same measurement. Let's get the next one out and then this one out. This is there's an aesthetic to this, but there's like an intense like craft, and it is it's a type of art making where it's like way okay to use rulers, use measurement. When you're planning materials, like with architecture, like you measure how long that wall is going to be, because you need to know how much material, how much wood you need to buy, how many trees you need to cut down. Like materials actually matter with architecture and crafts. If you're measuring, like, drawing somebody's face and, you make it a little bit too big, then you just get another sheet of paper. It's like not particularly consequential. But in, more industrial pursuits, being exact, there's lots of tools that allow for one to be exact. And it's obviously it's not only accepted, but it's required. All right, got those 4 sections. Wow. Okay, so there is a little bit of a variation. This is wonderful. I'm going to put in these 2 circles on the right, and then on the left.
On the right.
Hold on, guys. There's a circle on the left. There's a circle on the right. If there's another strategy that you guys can use, that you think of, use that. The lights.
And they really just kiss, right?
Yeah, and I'm having them kiss at that point. Okay, there we go. The lights are back on. And I'm having them kiss at that intersection. So how are you going to get, 4 circles to be the exact same size? Well, that's why God gave us our drawing ability. Whew. Okay. My gosh, this is so scary. What would you do next? I'm going to work to get to we know it's in a square. Thank goodness. So I'm going to work to get to the edge. So let's do 1 unit up before it splits off. And then I'm going to do 1 unit down. And then that's going to split to the right and then to the left. This is so interesting. I mean, I thought this was going to be easy, and it's not easy.
No, not for me.
How are you doing, Stacy?
Well, I got very.
This is way too close to math.
You know what?
It
Number one,
feels a little
is.
mathy.
And number 2, I was like, oh, no, that the horizontal circles aren't kissing. It's not symmetrical.
But they are. Oh, you mean on the right side? Yeah.
Yeah, and the left.
Yeah.
Yes,
yes. The top and the bottom and the left and the right are not the same design. And that freaked me out too.
Yeah.
We'll see what those differences are. At least we went through this little, at least we've got the top and the bottom. Whether we have the left and the right, that is yet to be determined.
And I made mine monstrous. Guys, how you doing on size?
You went big.
Yeah, I didn't mean to, but that's just the way it worked out.
I'm going to go for a couple free answers. And my first free answer is there's this, you can imagine that, like, I'm almost imagining like this is a flower. If you think about this as a flower, it might be a lot easier, where there's 4 petals, you know, leading into the corner. And then each one of these, like, the middle is like the piston, and then these are the pollen, the pollen shafts or whatever. So if we've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4 pollen sections, let's do the stem of the pollen, and then we'll bring that. Why does mine look so thin? Oh, maybe it's because of the circle is so small. All right. Pollen, pollen. Pollen.
Oh, I see this rhythm. Ha.
I don't really hope so.
I see this rhythm.
All right, so we have the each one of the petals has a border. So at first I wanted to do the left, right, top, and bottom, but I think what we're going to do is this upper right-hand petal. Now that I can see that there is a petal and then like the pollen components, I'm going to take care of this whole right-hand corner, and I'm going to start with the rim around it. So I'm looking for the outside of the petal. So I've got this outside section, leads to the corner. I'm seeing the length of, the middle line, and that curves out. And I've got the right side of my entire picture. Whew, thank goodness. So it's almost like the petal has a frame around it. If you can imagine, that frame needs to get broken up. You have a little square in this corner, a little vertical line here, and then we're basically making little subdivisions that can then be colored in different colors. Different colors are the same color. Okay, so on this petal, the pollen does not kiss the middle. So it's like it's rogue. Ooh, that's nice. So what I was looking at is that there's this kite shape. There's like a kite shape in the middle of our petal. And I love it. I'm going to draw that kite in the middle, and then because it's a wire and the glass has to be framed out, we'll draw those subdivisions. That's interesting how mine connected. Weird. So even if each petal is a little bit different, I think that it's going to be okay, because I think it's going to match up with the colors. At least we've identified all of the sections. So for example, every section is going to have a kite, which is the last form that we did. Then that kite is going to be framed by these subsections. And the subsections really came because we have the frame of the petal. I think finding the frame of the petal is going to be one of the really crucial components to the rest of it. I'm going to use orange for the pollen, and then maybe yellow for the pollen stem. I'm going to make my flower red. It's going to have a red petal with a blue blue frame or blue tips.
I like that blue.
It's cerulean.
Ah,
I really like it too. Cool. So I just started with this brown color, just like for no reason. I don't know why I didn't use like a lead or a black. I was talking about using black before. I'm just going to shore up some of those frame lines because, you know, that's part of what having a stained glass window is about. It's like the lines are almost obnoxiously thick. You know, where line weight in drawings, you can adjust and you can make them like thinner or thicker depending on like what looks best. Like the nature of a stained glass window is like it has to, the glass has to be held in place, and it's got to be held in place securely. I mean, these windows last centuries. So the thickness of the frame of the glass might be a little negotiable, but it's not going to be that negotiable. And that being said, the outer frame of our glass window here, that the lead looks thicker along the outside edge. I haven't decided for a color that's going to be in between each one of the petals. I may come up with that later.
betwixt and between.
Okay, I'm right-handed, so I'm probably just going to go try to do the petal that's in this lower right-hand quadrant. At least we've broken the picture down into 4 subsections, and each one can be an opportunity to get it right. So if you didn't get it right, let's try it. It might be easier from a different angle. Okay, so this comes up. I'm going to get the outer part of the stem, the outer part of the petal rather, that goes into the thick part of the frame. Same thing on this side. So that's nice. At least I've got the whole outer portion that's already there, basically. All right, and then I'm going to get the rim, which is going to be blue eventually. Comes off this way. The other rim comes off this way. And then I love that the rim on the left comes through, overlaps the rim on the right, and then it gives you that blue square without even trying. I've got 1 pollen on the bottom because that came from our vertical element. And then we'll do 1 pollen. I'm trying to make it mirror image. This is so annoying. The light turns off if no one's moving.
That looks really interesting in the dark light.
Do you want to just sketch it in the dark for a second?
Wow.
I mean, if you like it.
The colors are much more intense.
The colors look more like stained glass windows in the dark.
Yes, yes.
Maybe it's because the value of the brown becomes deeper and richer, and that
Maybe.
the thin colors of the pencil are actually almost like the paper is shining through them.
That's funny.
All right, let's just try it. So my pollen little pouches here, the pollen circles are definitively not the same. I might as well just get the right answer in here. So I got these orange ones here, and then we got these larger ones. I just already made this one larger, and they're not touching. Okay, cool. So there's the.
Excuse me. Trevor.
Yeah, yes, Stace.
Gentlemen, I will have to bid you adieu.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I have to get my puppy. Can I take a really quick pic of how everyone's coming along? Whoop. Is that possible?
It's not a bad idea.
Okay, Xavier. Hold that nice
Xavier's
and
great.
still. Nice. Nice. I see that as branch leaves. I like that interpretation of what.
Dude, Charlie, fantastic work.
Yeah.
Dude. All right, so
hold that,
Charlie, you and Xavier are kind of like doing the whole drawing first. I think it's a great idea. I'm kind of drawing and coloring at the same time, so I'm going to go a little bit slower. So just feel free to start coloring it. As soon as you finish the drawing, go for the coloring.
Charlie, can you hold that up just once again for me? Why don't, oh, there you And a little closer
Put
to
the lights back on.
you, little further away from the screen and up. Yeah. Very well done. Thank you. Thank you. And Jack, how are you doing? No mistakes, just happy accidents. Oh, nice.
Good.
Wow, these are great.
Yeah, they are really good.
Yeah, they really are. Trevor.
As much as I'm struggling with this, like intellectually, thank you for doing well.
Trevor, thank you so much. I'm
Welcome.
so sorry. I have to run. I have to Zoom.
We love talk.
Yes. So I am zooming along. Trevor, I'll see you later. Guys, have fun.
See you tonight.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
All right, so here's my second strategy. I started with the kite from the inside out, and I think I'm going to start with the outside in for the kite on this one, so I can get at least a frame relative to the outside of the kite is about the same size as the border. You know, it's not exact, but it's pretty close, a lot closer than my first one. So that I think will be a little bit more accurate. And then I'll have it come in here, and then I'll have it come in here. So it's not like the kite shape changes at all, but like the order with which you sketch it might change the shape a little bit. I'm gonna maybe make a purple center, only because I don't have any other color. I haven't used purple yet. So that's kind of nice for the middle. And maybe I'll use the purple for the space in between. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. You don't have to make each petal the same. Like maybe the top right and the bottom left, maybe those are the same, and then the bottom right and the top left, you know, they're opposite one another, or everything's different. I mean, it really becomes your own coloring book. And my colors, I'm actually really kind of bad at colors. I mean, I get lucky sometimes. If I'm inventing colors, I'm not particularly strong. I can match colors if I'm looking at nature and I see, you know, the light on a tree, I can find that color. And I have all the strategies to do that. But if I'm just like inventing color on my own, I'm not particularly strong. So I actually think this looks good, and I'm surprised. So it would have been nicer if I had maybe the kite shape was a little different than the border of the kite. And because it's colored pencils, I could, you know, maybe deepen it to make it darker.
This is mine.
I'm gonna make this the middle kite. Yeah, it's really beautiful, Xavier. Do you have colored pencils, or did you want to just leave it the frame?
I like black and white, so yeah, I like it to be the frame.
Cool. I'll try to hurry up because we're getting close. Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah, and then I think there is something interesting psychologically about, you know, the top right is the same as the bottom right, something like that. Which one is a mirror? So yeah, the top right mirrors the bottom right, and the bottom left mirrors the top left. So however that mirror goes, you know, it's still from a very different angle. So psychologically, it will be a little bit different. And I actually haven't even found officially the right side of my picture yet. So, or the left side of my picture, sorry. All right, I found my left side, finally. That spurts out this way. I think the strategy that I had found of thinking about the outside of the petal and seeing how it meets up with the outside of the frame, I'm feeling pretty good right now because my proportions look like they're relatively accurate. It's in a square. So let's just roll this out, and I should be pretty darn good at it by this point. So I've got the frame, which comes all the way across. I've got this frame that comes all the way across. I mean, I could even do the left side simultaneously, this frame And then this frame. That looks good to me. I've got the pollen on the center, both top and bottom. And I'm going to do the pollen on the left, and then the pollen on the left bottom. Match those up a little bit. And then I'll do the stems for the pollen. Trying to maintain some consistency with the other side. Pollen stem, pollen stem. Not perfect, but not bad. And then we'll do the center leading to the tip of the kite. And then we'll do the short side of the kite, short side of the kite, short side of the kite, short side of the kite. And then I can watch how that cascades into the stems of the pollen. These spread out. There's a little section on the frame, spread out, frame section, frame section. Cool. Oh my goodness. I'm pleasantly surprised. It goes to show that even things that you think can be simple are not. And then when you get into trouble, if you just keep your head about your wits, you can push through and you'll win. And if you guys are coloring this, which I hope you are, once you figure out your formula, which is 1/4 of the picture, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from drawing all of the pollen, all of the stems, all of the blue. You could it's like factory, man. It's like factory work. Once you solve the solution, you don't have to waste time thinking about it. I mean, be quick. Don't hurry because you'll make mistakes, but you can be quick. I do like this red orange. It's this vermilion color. I wonder if it doesn't say anything. So way back when artists were in like the Baroque era, Renaissance era, they didn't have that many red pigments. They were very expensive. They came from stones. And then there's one popular pigment that was called vermilion, and it was like a red orange, and you can look for it in paintings, and it's so vibrant and it's so beautiful, and it really was represents the brightest, boldest colors that were available for centuries, before cadmium colors came along in the 1800s. And that pencil reminds me of vermilion. So for artists, that vermilion red orange is almost a sacred color, in the sense that it was the highest caliber color that you could work with for a long, long time. The equivalent in the cool colors, was like this azure blue. This last little section of purple. Yeah, the stained glass windows is it's not a lost art, at all, but the drawing is becoming rarer. So not that the process is lost, but the complexity of the designs. There's work to be done there. All right. Let's take a picture of this real quick. And I'm impressed that it was kind of the right size for the Zoom call. I got lucky on that one too. Can I see anybody that colored it? And Xavier, even if you are finished, this is kind of the drawing. You could clean up your lines. I mean, there's a really dark border around the whole thing. And then all the other lines are about the same thickness. So you can almost like polish your lines up. So funny. I was like, we only have 10 minutes left of class. I'm like, oh yeah, because we started 15 minutes late. Okay. It looks even better in the photo. Look at that thing. Excellent. All right. Do you guys want to draw something? Try one that like is an actual object. Ooh, there's a scarab. We could do an Egyptian scarab. That might be about the right size.
For some reason, since you're talking about Egyptian, we're actually doing in my school, learning about ancient Egypt and how they like talked and like, I mean, yeah.
Cool. I mean, ancient Egyptian art is, some of the highest level creations that humans have ever made in terms of architecture, painting, sculpture especially, architecture especially. It's just the thing about ancient Egypt is that, Xavier, is that it lasted like thousands of years. So I mean, if you think about like it's 2020 right now, 221, whatever. Egyptian dynasty dynastic period lasted 3,000 years. So it's like if you go back all the way to year 0, it lasted 1,000 years before that we even know about. So it's like to study it, it's so expansive. I mean, there's just so much, and it's just so interesting. Anyway, I love Egyptian art.
Wasn't it the first, like one of the first like places to live in the world?
Yeah, like Mesopotamia.
Actually, the first place to live in the world was Ethiopia.
Yeah, I mean, Northern Africa is where mankind seemed to sprout up.
And so we put on the
That's where Egypt is, and that's where Ethiopia is too. So they weren't that far apart. And the origins of man, there's all kinds of ideas about that. And I'm not actually an anthropologist or a doc, whatever. There's all kind. I don't know enough about that to talk about it, but I can talk about the interesting thing about Egyptian art too is that it was a civilization in decline. So the earliest Egyptian art was at the highest level of achievement, and then it went in kind of a very slow and steady decline over that period, and then we kind of reached civilization, humanity as a whole reached the lowest kind of point around 500 AD, artistically, so like basically artistically, and then we emerged out of the Dark Ages, Charlemagne around 1000, and then the Renaissance in 500, and then the huge technological advancements in the late 19th, early 20th century, and we're kind of been on a steady incline ever since. Seeing if we can stay out of wars, we're doing pretty good.
Mr. Trevor, was ancient Egypt in BC or
Yeah.
BC?
It was in BC.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was.
Actually, it was some of it was in early
Correct.
BC. I mean BC.
Correct. But then they had-
CE.
once like once the Greeks and Romans came in, the great civilization of Egypt had kind of long gone by. All right, I'm gonna go purple.
Also, Egypt didn't like some of the a lot of the games that we play now today, they come from ancient Egypt.
Yeah, that's what I'm told. Yeah, a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things that we still are still in practice today were developed by the Egyptians. Okay, so just really quickly, gentlemen, I think I'm going to start with this very center. I think this is close to the center of the entire rectangle. It's certainly the center of his back, and it's this conjunction of the scarab's wings. So there's three forms that we want to talk about. There's like the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. And the wings here, if the scarab opens up and starts to fly, a beetle or whatever, there's this protective coating, the protective shell on the outside of the wings, and that covers up the wings and the abdomen. So what we need to do is we're starting from this center point, and we are going to get the thorax, which is, it's almost like a very wide teardrop shape. And then we're going to get both wing shell covers. And then once we get the abdomen and the thorax, then we can do this semicircle for the head, and then the little pinchers at the top. And scarabs were, obviously, sacred creatures. Everything was sacred in ancient Egypt, but especially the scarab. And there's like a whole bunch of a variety of reasons, but they would actually.
The most sacred creature in Egypt was the cat.
Yeah, I'm possibly.
Pharaohs were buried with cats.
Oh, Xavier, who's that, boss?
My little brother.
What's his name? What's your brother's name?
Alex.
Alex. He looks like the man, dude. You're gonna teach him how to draw? Okay, so before I get too caught up, let's do these three major parts of the scarab, and then we'll try to do the legs, and then from the legs we'll build the rectangle around it. So we've got three forms: head, thorax, abdomen, three legs, upper legs, two lower legs, and then we have the rectangle. The rectangle is nothing to worry about. So let's do the center line between the wings, and then I'm going to, before I do my the whole teardrop, I want to see about where the top of the thorax is. So I'm going to put a little arc here, seeing this distance, and I think if I put this little arc at the top, I'm going to be able to do my S curve into the top, and then I'm going to attempt to do the S curve at the top this way. So what I'm really going for is a width that is exactly the same on either side of the center line. Same thing for the bottom. I'm going to show a little bit of the bottom here. And then depending on how well you did with the width of your thorax, you can then build the wings on the right, and then the wing cover on the left. Not bad. The stained glass window designer splits the thorax into like a V shape here. So it gets three separate pieces of glass for the thorax, whereas the abdomen here and the shell cover, he's got two separate pieces of glass. And then he's going to have one piece of glass for the head. And notice that I followed the center up. I established where the middle of the guy's head was going to be. And then I'm going to do an arc down to the right and an arc down to the left and right. And there's our head, thorax, abdomen. Oh, I'm going to put the lights back on. As soon as I stand up, it's going to go on. I need to get like a yardstick. These two like shark fin shaped pinchers. Symmetry just seems to be so important in this practice. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, and I hadn't really, when I think about stained glass windows, I don't necessarily think about symmetry, but I think, at least for the designs that we've looked at, they've been pretty symmetrical, left side, right side. And, you know, most animals are symmetrical in that way. All right. Let's do the upper arms first. So they're gonna S curve up. That hits the frame, the inside frame. We'll start on the other side. So the S curve starts at, you know, basically the base of the very top of the wing cover. S curves up, hits the pincher, and then it ends in a tip at the inside frame. So my S curve on this side is going to come out, S curve in, ends at the pinch. Nice. I'm going to get the thickness of that arm. And once you get the one on the right, you kind of have to, you're kind of married to it. It's almost like whatever you do on the right side, that's not hard because it can be anything you want. It's just you have to repeat it on the left side, and that's the hard part, in my opinion. I mean, it doesn't really look like a scarab. It almost looks like a crab. It's got just like these two pinchers. Little wrist. Because the bottom, the middle leg seems to be in, you know, basically it passes behind the lower leg. I think I'm going to do the bottom lower leg first. And that's going to be a gentle S curve. And then that's going to expire in the bottom of our rectangle as well. Starting point, ending point, S curve. We'll get the thickness of that leg. For some reason, there's two pinchers at the bottom. I never knew Scarab to have like little pinchers. I knew they had like kind of like textural claws, but I didn't. Who knows? Pincher here, pincher there. And then I'm going to put these little blue, I'm going to shade the wrists. I want to call them blue. So as the legs transition into the pinchers, it's almost like the scarab's wearing bracelets. I just want you to be able to see that. I mean, I can actually draw it in my own book. There's little bracelets before the pinchers happen. All right, so we got the outside thickness of the middle leg. All that is just like a rainbow form. It's just an arch. You don't see any of the pinchers. At least I don't think so.
Mr. Twist, it's 5:02.
I know. We started late, so we're just going to keep going. If you have to go, I understand, but I think we can, I think we can, I don't think it'll take more than, 10 minutes to finish this bad boy. Okay. So from there, I've got, I guess there's these two little bracelet lines on the legs as well, on the middle legs. Let me put those in. We're getting pretty close. I mean, if you have this, if you have the top and you have the bottom and your pinchers are touching both the top and the bottom, you can make the rectangle essentially any size you want. So I'm going to make my rectangle a little bit narrower so it fits on my Zoom screen page. So this is what I would call the inner frame. And then there's the actual outer frame, which is the entire design. And the outside line goes thicker, as we talked about in the other one. So if you're drawing the very outside leaded metal, you can afford to go a little bit heavier. And I used purple, so I'm like, whenever I use purple, I always think about green or like a blue-green. I'm not quite there yet. I guess each corner has a square in it, which is kind of nice. So if you just extend the inner frame to the outer frame, you get your square in each corner. There seems to be a separation on the middle, on the top, and then two verticals on the bottom. The reason I bring that up is because there are these little panels along the entire frame that seem to make a, I don't know, like it, I don't know why it feels Egyptian to me, but it feels a little Egyptian. You can invent your own, of course. The way the panels that I'm making here are opportunities for color changes. So you can make every single square that you build is another opportunity for a different color. So you can make as many or as few as you want. I'm sure the like the guys that make these things, like understand how much glass. I mean, if you look at like the wing cover right here, that's probably the largest single piece of glass in the entire design. I think that's Xavier. Did you have a question?
I have to run.
That's cool. Can I see your drawing first?
Okay, here you go.
Your camera's blurry. Do you know why?
Yeah, there's something on the top of it.
Wow, cool. Okay, it looks great. If you have time, make the outside border just a little darker. That's
Okay.
that's like my only recommendation. You know how I teach. If I have the idea, it's usually something that I have to do myself.
Okay.
All right, Xavier, have a great week, man.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Wow, I think this is gorgeous. Let's switch over to a darker green. When I picked up this pencil, I envisioned it being a little bit more blue-green. It is a little blue-green, but it's more of like almost like an emerald, or I don't know, like almost like a hunter green. I don't know if it works that well with the purple. It's too early to tell. Whenever you've like only chosen 2 or 3 colors, the piece usually has to be a lot more cohesive, and it takes time in order to understand whether you can achieve cohesion. So if it looks bad at this stage, there's nothing you can do except for try to make it better, because there's no way to know. Even it could be great. I mean, it could be phenomenal. It's just you won't really know, until you finish the rest of the drawing. So make this green, red, orange. Make it orange. Ooh, ooh, buddy. Just using the colors that are on my desk right now. Bright yellow green. I mean, it's so bold. It's so bright and thin, it barely even shows up, but it really. Some of my color pencils are really good, and then some of the color pencils that aren't on the high quality level, they're beautiful colors, but then they don't say anything. Like they don't. This is just like a Crayola, or it's just like from a set. Like they don't even bother printing the color on it because they're so cheap. But it's gorgeous. Now I'll go back to the blue. I love this blue. It's turquoise blue. I'm gonna put the green that I used for the wings. I'm gonna put that green in the corners, so it's small, but it kind of anchors the whole design. Oh dear. So I put dark gray on this frame, which looks like it might be a mistake. And I forgot to put the breakups in it. I did want a darker frame, but that's kind of too dark. Here's a richer purple. It's more of a grape purple than a lavender purple. I like that red note in the middle. A red note framing off the green. I might even use it just to keep the frame, the area around the bug really light. Maybe not even do anything at all. I'm gonna use this yellow. It's a really light form. Feels like the sun. Something tells me yellow glass is really expensive. Still gotta get the pinchers. I don't know what color that should be. Bright red as so when you're inventing the color, I feel like it's kind of like it's almost like cooking from scratch. Like you've got to get the feel of it. So, just be prepared to make things that may not look that great. My color choices always come from nature. When they come out of my head, it's very hey, I've made worse drawings and colors. How'd you get like the corner of my picture keeps flopping out? Charlie, did you wind up doing this one or did you color the other one?
I did that one.
Can I have a look? Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, and these drawing. I mean, the artist that drew this had a ruler. I mean, we didn't even use a ruler. So my, that drawing is so good. It's so good. But the freehand stuff, you can settle the freehand with a ruler. It's just amazing like how much it takes a little bit longer, but you could like throw some tracing paper over your original drawing and just use a ruler. Let's see here. Kristen's texting me. What did she say? Jack, how'd you do, boss? Yeah, it's a really handsome, really handsome.
Thank
now,
you.
the other thing you can do.
All right. Goodbye, Mr. Twist.
What I was gonna say is that, gentlemen, you can photocopy them and then color them 10 different ways. You don't have to commit. You got really nice framework. Photocopy it at your house. Take a picture, print it, and you can color it 1,000 times. Hey guys, good to see you.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, and great work. I'll send everything to Stacy.